Mary here, and I thought it was time I did another chickeny video, so I'll show some clips of my chickens while I'm talking because it's not that exciting just looking at me. I've heard a lot of people asking questions, not only to me but on like online chicken forums, about the logistics of owning roosters, and that was a dragon's wing that just went past. You know, how you tell whether eggs are fertilized and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to do a bit of a, I guess a bit of a Q&A. First of all, why do you want a rooster? Some people get roosters on purpose, some people hatch eggs and they happen to have roosters and they decide whether to keep them or not. The two main reasons to have a rooster, number one, if you want to hatch some chicks, and number two, protection for the rest of your flock. Now, I know firsthand that roosters are brilliant protection. We are very lucky living in New Zealand that we don't have as many predators as a lot of other countries do when it comes to chickens. I know other countries have to worry about snakes and things like that. Really, our main concern out here is hawks, and also rats can be a bit of a problem too sometimes. Now with the hawks, we actually lost a lot of chickens to hawks. We were losing chickens on a regular basis after we decided to keep one of our roosters, Cluckster. He was awesome. He was my baby for ages. If you look back on the first video I ever did about keeping chickens, you'll see me cuddling Cluckster. Yeah, he turned nasty, but we'll get into that. When you are keeping roosters, you want to make sure you've got the right ratio of rooster to chicken. Ideally about 1 rooster to every 10 chickens. I've heard every 8 chickens can work as well, but that's just because otherwise it can stress the chicken too much. If you've ever seen a rooster doing what roosters do with chickens to make baby chicks, I'm not going to have a birds and bees discussion here, but it is quite stressful for the chicken. Yeah, no, the rooster will jump on its back and bite its neck, and you've seen, if you see chickens with a whole heap of feathers sometimes missing on their backs, they can get really overstressed. It can get too much for them. So you need lots of chickens for the rooster to, you know, do its thing, and not overstress them too much, basically. In regard to eggs, now there's a difference between a fertile egg and a fertilized egg. All eggs are fertile. If you've got a rooster, the eggs will probably be fertilized. And I will show you a wee clip showing you the difference between a non-fertilised egg and a fertilised egg, what to look for. Now, it is perfectly safe to eat fertilised eggs. Nothing wrong with them, they taste exactly the same, but you do need to make sure that you're collecting them daily or at least every other day, because obviously you don't want the chicks to start developing if you're not intending on incubating them. If you've got more than 1 rooster, in my experience, I think it varies with rooster to rooster. In my experience, if you raise 2 roosters together and you've got at least 20 chickens there, they will get along fine. They will be okay. It's only when you vary things, like if you introduce a new rooster to the flock that they're not used to, they will just fight to the death. They are quite brutal creatures. Now also with roosters comes the temperament. I've mentioned my great big baby Cluckster. He was a lovely boy. I loved him to bits. I used to give him cuddles regularly, and one day he just decided I wasn't his friend anymore. He started off chasing the kids. It wasn't really a biggie. He didn't really hurt any of them. And we didn't see it as a big deal at first. He was kind of the first rooster that I decided to keep. However, then he really did, gradually, he got nastier and nastier, and then he really did start to go nasty. Not sure if you can see, I've still got a scar on my hand. Now, there's a few things you can try when a rooster gets aggressive sorry if you can hear kids fighting in the background, that's what happens here. Now, there's a few things you can try to sort of tame a rooster. One thing is hang it upside down by just hold it upside down by its legs, not for a long length of time, but the theory is that humiliates them. I did that with Cluckster, and he was actually good as gold for maybe a few weeks after that. But he did go back to his old ways again. Now, another thing people say is you pick them up, put them under your arm, and you just carry them around. You carry them everywhere, you carry them for hours. That's how I got the scar on my hand doing that. I picked him up and he twisted his head around and took a chunk out of my hand. So yes, the other thing that actually worked pretty well for Cluckster for a while there was just holding them down to the ground. Don't use force, but if you hold on to them, and it just kind of shows them who's boss, and eventually they will sit down and they'll be submissive, and that's how you show them who's boss. With each of these things I did, he always went back to his old ways, and it got to the point where the kids didn't want to go in with the chickens because Cluckster was there and he was nasty, and so yeah, we had to make the tough call there. But we've got Nigel now. Nigel is once again my baby boy. Fingers crossed he's going to stay friendly. I'm very fond of Nigel. If you've seen my other chicken videos, you'll have seen him actually hatching out of an egg, and he's actually quite the gentleman. In that, might sound silly, but we go up to the gate to feed them, and I'll sprinkle food around, and he'll be keen, he'll come rushing over, but then I've noticed he actually doesn't start eating until he's looked around and he's checked that all the hens are eating first. So he always lets the girls eat first. Such a gentleman. So, and they, as I say, they provide good protection. They'll alert the hens if there's a hawk or something, and hawks will still try and dive bomb them, but Nigel's not afraid to have a go, and he'll actually flap up and have a go at one if need be. And yeah, as I say, we used to lose quite a few chickens to hawks since we've been keeping roosters, not one. These fertile eggs, if you decide you do want to go ahead and get some chickies from your rooster, first of all, something that I've found out only since I had Nigel, because Nigel is Cluckster's son. Apparently, if you have a not very nice rooster, their offspring will inherit their nasty habits. So I only found out that after we hatched Nigel. So I'm really crossing fingers that he remains nice. If you do want to breed chicks, then just leaving the eggs there won't necessarily mean you're going to get chicks. You do have to have a broody hen. You can tell a hen is broody because she will very rarely, only about once a day for 20 minutes or so, she will leave the nesting box. Even if she's not sitting on eggs. Our idiots do it when they're not even sitting on eggs. They're trying to hatch hay, literally. They'll sit there and they'll puff up, and they'll start growling at you if you try and touch them. That's a good indication that you got a broody hen, and you could let them have a go at hatching their own eggs, definitely, or you can collect eggs and put them in an incubator. And again, refer back to my other videos. I will just put a wee side note that we are going to look at getting a new incubator, because our cheap Chinese model we're only about a quarter of the eggs were hatching successfully, so we weren't, that wasn't a great hatch rate. So I am going to look at getting a better incubator and hopefully do some better candling and hatching videos. So now that I've got a new camera, thank you again, John Espin, Stupid Robot Fighting League, awesome stuff. So I'm able to pick up a lot more detail. So hopefully I'll be able to do some more good candling videos one day. Sorry, I just had to go outside and resolve a dispute. The kids were arguing over a stick. They were arguing over who owned a stick. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what a fertilized egg looks like. Now, firstly, just thought I'd point out, white egg, brown egg. There is literally no difference in taste or nutrition. Out of interest, the colour of a chicken's earlobes, this might sound silly, the colour of its earlobes will indicate what colour eggs it's going to lay. Random chicken fact. See how it's got that lovely wee circle there? Kind of got a wee circle, and I'm not sure if you can see, but there's like another little circle on the outside of it. That is a sign of an egg that has been fertilized. Look at that, 2 for 2, we just got another one. Notice how nice and orange that yolk is, dark orange. Means the chickens have been eating lots of grass, that's a good thing. But yes, there's that circle, and it sort of looks a bit like a target with another circle outside of it. But yes, so there we go, that is how you can tell an egg has been fertilized. Now unfortunately, there is no way of telling by looking whether or not it's been fertilized. So if you're planning on breeding your own chicks, it's a matter of just cracking open your eggs, seeing generally what percentage are fertilised, and just going from there. If a good amount of them are fertilised, then you can safely collect them, put them in your incubator, and you'll be able to candle them. I did a series of candling videos. You can candle them after, I think it's day 8 or something. And yeah, you'll be able to see little veins growing out, and you can see which ones are actually developing and which ones are not. You just need to turf. So there we go. So hopefully that gives you an idea.